Hi there, my name is Jo Reingold and I'm interviewing Marilyn Schaffer. Today is Friday, January 12th, 2018. Good morning, Marilyn.
Good morning.
Tell us about your family as far back as you can remember, where they came from, your grandparents, your parents, and how they got here.
Okay. My grandfather came to Galveston, Texas in 1898, and he was 16, and there was a big, in 1900, there was the Great Storm, which now they call it the Isaac Storm because of the book. But he wrote to his parents and said, "Don't come, it's horrible here, bodies flooding in the streets." And they said, "We're coming because the Cossacks, the Russians, are at our door." It was Fiddler on the Roof there, so we're coming. And so everyone came. By 1900 and 1910, when they closed the port of Galveston, my whole family was here. Everybody that we ever knew. Never did I know about the Holocaust until I got married and came to Dallas, Texas, because everybody in Galveston was, they had come in a very long time ago. A lot of them did move to Houston, and my grandfather on my father's side moved to New York. All his brothers and sisters moved to Houston, but he moved to New York because he thought, "Oh my God, I can't live here. It's no Jews, no nothing." Rabbi Cohen was very popular, and he was the rabbi there, and he settled a lot of Jewish people. He was a Reform rabbi. That's all we had is Reform. It was German. Okay, and then, so my mother's parents came to Galveston, and my mother and all her sisters and brothers were born in Galveston.
Oh, okay.
Galveston. And then my father, when he was 25, wanted to come meet his relatives in Texas. So he came to Texas. He met my mother. He loved Galveston. And that's the story. He stayed there. He loved Galveston. Loved a small
Do you know
town.
what community in Russia they were from originally? Your
Galicia.
grandparents?
I don't know. All I know
Somewhere
is
in
Galicia,
Galicia.
so it was
Okay.
Poland.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think both sides were from.
We're from there. Okay. Wonderful.
And they were religious even in Poland. So they weren't, the German Jews or anything.
Right.
Right. What else?
Well, now where did you grow up?
I grew up in Galveston, Texas. I was active in BBYO. I never dated a Gentile guy, so because of that, the compromise was, well, I didn't get bat mitzvah because I belonged to an Orthodox shul, and there was no bat mitzvah. My brother did. My brother and I are only 15 months apart. Anyway, so the deal was, if you don't date Gentiles in Galveston, Texas, my whole high school, my graduating class was 815 Jews. So it was not a big Jewish community. So I got to go to Houston because my aunt lived in Houston, my mother's sister. So I got to go to Houston almost every weekend if I wanted to, and and then I graduated from Ball High School. We had one high school for whites and one high school for blacks. And that was the way it is. Now we only have still two high schools. In Galveston, you were either Jewish or Catholic or Italian. All my friends were Italian. My best friend was Carolyn Torregrossa. That's pretty Italian.
Italian.
And let's see what else. I went to University of Colorado. And
How did you pick that?
My mother had always gone to Colorado in the summer because she had asthma, and so I went to Colorado, loved it, and it was great. I did not graduate, only went 2 years. Came home, got married.
How did you meet Don?
It was a blind date on New Year's Eve, 1957 or 1958 or something. We got married in 1960, and I've loved Dallas ever since.
So he was already here, settled
He's a
here?
native.
A native.
He's
oh,
native.
Okay.
Yeah. His parents are not natives of Dallas, but they're Americans. Everybody was American. But I knew my great grandmother, my grandmother's mother, and let's see, it was Lerner was my mother's maiden name, and Geller was my daddy. Marilyn Geller. So that's a big name in Houston.
Right, I know that name.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So tell me, what were some of your best, fondest memories of growing up in Galveston?
it was hard because I wasn't allowed to date non-Jewish guys, so it was tough. So I got to go to Houston all the time, and I loved Houston, and I loved all my friends in Houston, and my Aunt Helen Topek, Marcia, Fidel and Marcia's mother. She's my first cousin, so I stayed with them, and that was always fun. And so it was just it wasn't anti-Semitic, but it wasn't real easy. It wasn't like now. I mean, you went to the grocery store. I mean, you went to for the holidays, you went and you said you were buying a Christmas present. You never said you were buying a Hanukkah present. Now, I go to Neiman's now, I say, I'm buying a Hanukkah present. They don't understand it, too bad. Don't worry, they love it. So, no, I knew I would never live in Galveston. I never would live in a small town and do that. I didn't want my kids to have that experience. I wanted them to be happy and healthy and, Jewish.
Did you ever think of staying in Houston permanently?
No,
Watching it grow?
Houston or Dallas or any place that wasn't a small town. I wasn't going to live in a small town. That's the rules. So, you have rules. Just lucky that I met somebody that didn't want to live in a small town either.
So tell me about your early married years,
So,
coming to Dallas. What was that
so
like?
I got married. I didn't work. Got married really young, and I would kill my kids if they got married this young. Didn't work, but then by the time I was 25, I had 3 kids. So it was good. Always active in B'nai B'rith. We were members of Temple Emmanuel. I was active there. For 12 years, we were members there. We were talking about this last night. 12 years, and then we joined our oldest daughter wanted to be bar mitzvahed, of course, and it was different at Temple then. Now it's great. Everybody does, but you did nothing. It was a mockery. So we joined Shearith Israel, and we've been there ever since. So that was good. All my kids were graduated there.
What are your kids' names, and where are they now?
Okay, so there's Pam Pigeon, and she lives in Dallas, and she's a real estate broker. And then there's Ann Oxteen, and she lives here, and Pam has 2 girls, of which one's getting married, one is married. Ann has 2 boys. One just has a master's from Johns Hopkins, works for Deloitte, and the little boy is 6'3". Syracuse, goes to Syracuse. So that's it. He's going to sports management. And then I have one daughter who lives in Houston, and her son just got into Michigan. Yay. And her other son, they go to the Hebrew Day School in Houston, and Ann's middle child went to Akiba and then Yavna. So they all married Jewish. They're all very in the community, very much Jewish.
Right.
And in Houston, her husband is going to be president of Temple Emmanuel in Houston, and my son-in-laws here are involved in Jewish things.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm happy.
What else have you been involved in through the years? You said B'nai B'rith.
The J has been, the Federation, and we're also involved in the general community with the arts. We like the Dallas Symphony, the museums, the Nasher. We're members of all those. We go to all the projects and things, and it's always fun. So it's just fun living in Dallas. We love Dallas. We love the Arts District, and we're contributors there, and so we're happy that they did all that.
Through the years, can you think back of the things that you've got involved in, like not even chronologically, but what have you really been, what has your passion been?
Well, the J. I love the J, and it's really, my husband was president of the J. He was also president of the Federation. He's also president of the Foundation. So it's been a journey, and I've been, people are really nice to the president's wife.
So you're right there with them.
Right. Let's see, my daughter was very active in children's cancer from the medical school, so we were involved in that. You're involved with what your kids are involved in, so that's good.
So professionally, when did you decide to go back to work? I
never worked. My first job is real estate.
Okay.
I had a job in high school modeling something. That was nothing. They got paid nothing. Oh, and I did work as a gray line lady. Oh, when I first got married. Forgot about that. So that was $25 a day. It cost $10 to park. You had to wear hose. I mean, I took home nothing. It was good. So, no, in 1979, my kids were I had a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And I said, I've got to do something out here. I've got to do something. So I went into real estate, and the best thing I ever did. Real estate broker, and I was with Henry S. Miller until 1999, and then they dissolved, or they didn't dissolve, but my manager left, and Virginia Cook, so I've been with them ever since. And that's the best thing I ever did.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can you think along those lines of some project or something that you worked on that you're really, really proud of?
Not really,
Anything
just
special?
a lot of stuff, no.
Just a lot of...
Yeah, no, never had a big project that was like I had to do.
Who, if anybody, has been a role model to you?
Oh, all the Fanny Shannon was just, you know, I loved her, and let's see who else. Sarah Mumfus, all the old timers, and they were just really.
Well, okay, so put your finger on it. What did they do that you thought was so
special? They were
special?
very active. Fanny was, you know, Miss Israel. So if you go to Israel with her, it's just, and it really, we're active in the Holocaust Center too, and so that was just an eye-opener. I was in the Young Leadership. When you're first married, you're in the Young Leadership, and we learned all about that. And we went to Israel in 1972 with the National, and that was like eye-opening, you know, wonderful. Now the kids, by the time they're 25, they've been to Israel 4 times, you know.
Yeah. They have more opportunities.
Yes, so we've been to Israel. My husband's been a lot of times, but I've been about 3 times. We went on a family trip, and but I just went to Poland with the Federation, and that was Poland, Budapest. It was eye-opening, fabulous, just a wonderful.
Was it a Jewish heritage tour?
No, it was just a Federation.
General.
It was only 15 people, and it was really fabulous. Yeah, Miriam Feast. She led it, and she was wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunities here.
Oh yeah. Oh, living in Dallas, Texas.
Well, I was just going to ask you, speaking of Dallas, you've been here a long time, but you weren't born and raised here. How have you seen the city change since you've been here?
Well, since I was from Galveston, and my mother had a sister living here, Reoster, I came to Galveston, to Dallas. I didn't want to go to sleepaway camp. My brother went to Young Judea, and I came to the JCC camp on Pocahontas. I used to take the bus. They lived in Lakewood, and took the bus so I've been coming to Dallas since I was 7 years old, that I can remember. And I would tell you, my aunt and uncle lived in Oak Cliff, and then they lived in, like I say, Lakewood. There, the only place to shop, God, do I feel old, was downtown. Downtown. We went downtown to shop. There was Sanger Harris, Teich's, Dreyfus, Neiman's, and Sanger's was Sanger's and Harris at that time.
Oh, right.
So that was the only place. So that's, you went to the hotels, the Baker, the Adolphus. I mean, there was nothing past Northwest Highway. I'd never been Northwest. Then when I got married, I have to say in 1960, when I started working in 1979, I had never been north of Beltline Road. I lived by Hockaday, and we bought a house in Northwood Hills, and I had never, I went to interview with Virginia, and she said, oh, you're going to be at the office on Campbell. I said, where's Campbell? Oh my God. Well, I stayed there 2 years, and then I came back to Preston Hollow. You know, and everybody says, well, you live north of Northwest Highway, Beltline. I said, I know, but I live in Northwood Hills. It's not like, you know, it's probably, when we lived by Hockaday on Meyerwood, and then we moved to Northwood Hills, and we were the last house My next door neighbor, Joyce Belovsky, was the second house in Northwood Hills, and we were the last lot to build in Northwood Hills. So we've been there since 1975.
So you've seen a lot of growth.
Oh, gosh, it was, well, Northwood Hills, Spring Valley, it used to close at my lot. You couldn't get, you had to come all the way around to get to Cliffbrook. It didn't come into Spring Valley. That was all horses. When we bought it, was all horses. And now, like, oh, it's down now. It's just, I mean, I can't even believe everything.
Did you ever feel, I'm just curious, any kind of anti-Semitic behavior, attitudes, or anything living here all these years?
Not in Dallas. In Galveston, yes. When I was a little girl, my grandmother, we were, you know, it was a really small town. I mean, you took the bus every place. From my grandmother's house on Shabbos, we always had dinner, lunch there, and then you could walk downtown. She lived 4 blocks from downtown. She lived in a big, I thought it was a big house, it probably wasn't that big. And she had an apartment, 4-plex apartment next to hers that she owned. Mm-hmm. And there was a little guy one day came out and said, you know, the Nazis should have killed all the Jews. Wow. And I must have been 10 or 12 or something. He said it to my brother. And I hit him. Mm-hmm. And so my grandmother was upset, they're gonna move. Well, the lady was more upset than my grandmother was gonna kick her out. And she apologized and apologized. So it wasn't rampant, but yeah. Uh-huh.
But you didn't feel anything here? You didn't see any instances?
No, I never had any. There were probably, because I moved here in 1960. Mm-hmm. So it was probably some, but it was already, I thought I'd moved to the big city. It was, when I moved to Dallas, well, I remember Fort Worth was 250,000. I think we were 500,000. It was nothing. It was like, but to me, I came from Galveston with 60,000 people, which is still 60,000 people. So yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
That it's
hasn't grown much.
No. So well, it's an island and it can't grow too much, but yeah. I still have Carolyn, and she loves it, but she's not Jewish, so it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I know your family has grown exponentially, so okay. Tell me, what are you the most proud of that you can think of at this point?
Well, I'm proud of my husband. I'm proud that I got to live in Dallas, and I have 3 kids and 3 girls, and now I have 4 grandsons and 2 granddaughters, so they're all good, and you know, they make me happy, and everybody's, you know, proud to. I'm just proud to be living in Dallas, Texas at this time. If somebody's, I did a questionnaire the other day, and it said, would you have rather lived in the past or in the future? Oh, I want to live in the future.
You would want to?
Oh yes. I want to see what's going to happen.
What do you see happening here?
Oh, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. I just wish that it was more growing in Dallas. But we've gotten so expensive to live in Dallas, and our schools are bad. That's just the name of the game. The best schools, I mean, I'm not supposed to say that, but the best schools are just mediocre. And private schools are outrageously expensive, and so people move here and they move out north. Mm-hmm. And now, it's still, the hub is still Jewish. If you want to be Jewish in Dallas, I feel you have to live in Dallas. But people don't think that. They think, but it's hard. It's hard when you live out there. The J's here, the shuls are here. I mean, they've got little shuls there.
They've got little ones,
but they don't have, you know.
That's how we started out, though, smaller.
Yeah, right.
All of our synagogues were not so big either when you moved here.
Right. Well, no.
Temple Emmanuel was. That's true.
And that's where we belong. And Sheriff was big. And my family all belonged to Sheriff, but my husband belonged to Temple. So that's why we joined Temple.
Right.
And it was fun.
It was good, those years.
Oh, the Temple is, I go to the Hartman class there last night. And the Temple is like the JCC without a pool. It's gigantic. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it is. It is.
All our shows are good.
Yeah, the growth has been incredible.
It has been wonderful.
So, do you have anything else you'd like to wrap it up and tell us at all?
No.
Any fun story, anything?
I've just loved living here. I like, I think people are very nice, and I think the growth is going to be incredible in the next, 10 years. The only thing comes with that is traffic.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. I don't know if everybody's seen it so far. Just even since Christmas, and it's still trafficking.
Yeah.
But That's the price you pay.
I know. It's not a good price, but it's the price you pay.
That's right, that's right.
Well, thank you, Marilyn, very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you
you
for
being here.
asking me. Thank you
Okay.
for asking me.
Sure.